Going live? Am I going live? Yes, I'm going live. Yes, I'm sitting here trying to straighten my hair up too. I went live there someplace, probably right in the middle of straightening my hair. Pay no attention to this mess back here in the corner. Welcome to my home. Welcome to my happy home. Yeah, this is Cassidy. I'm sure you all know that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be on this channel, on my blog, watching this. And I guess today is, oh, excuse me, I got the burps. What you could call a very special Cat City Saturday morning. Yeah. So what's new? Well, I'm out of Derby jail. My suspension is over. It was over as of Wednesday night. I let it run down until midnight. And Thursday, I started getting contacted by people. I was told that if I wanted to come back, I could come back. It seemed as if I was in a much better place these days. And I said, yeah, I want to come back. And I contacted coaching. And I let them know that, after speaking with a member of the executive board of directors, this was my official notice I was coming back. So, yeah. And let me get my wig adjusted here. It seems all off. I was contacted by a couple of coaches yesterday. Roxy and Ida got in touch with me. And, Ida was, Roxy was like, glad to see you're better and, looking forward to having you come back. And Ida was pretty much the same, she was happy to see that I was feeling better, and she was happy to see that I was coming back. But she also had a few concerns, and she had talked to me about those concerns. And a lot of it had to do with my prior attitude, and not just before I went into the hospital, but, if you watch my Saturday morning videos, the last couple of weekends, I've been vacillating quite a lot as to how I was feeling about returning, and even if I was wanted. And I had said some things which she pointed out that came across as rather hurtful. And I agreed. They were hurtful, and they came from a place of spite and hurt. But afterwards, when we were finished talking, I had all day to think about stuff, even when you're watching television or looking for jobs. I always have time to think. I'm always thinking. It's usually my biggest problem. And I realized that it's not just enough to say, well, I was in a bad mental place back when all that stuff was going on. But I also began to realize that you can't always fall back on the excuse of, well, I was depressed and suicidal to justify actions. One of the mantras I've been harping on for some time is that I felt I wasn't getting any support from my league. I felt they weren't supporting me to get me bout ready. I felt they weren't supporting me to get me certified. It was all they. And it was something I had firmly believed in. It was something I convinced myself was true. And in order to segue into this next part, I have to bring up a couple of things. One, last night I was out with one of my former teammates, now a referee, needed nitro. And we had a boozy milkshake and I had some tacos. And I was telling her about this, and I made the mention of, it's not enough to say, I'm sorry because I have mental illness, because I knew, even when I joined Derby like a year ago, that I was mentally ill, that I suffered from depression, that I was suicidal. I mean, I'd had a suicidal episode a year and a half earlier. So I knew coming into the league that I was like this. It wasn't something that just stuck up on me. And I said, in a way, I actually had an obligation to get help because I knew I was melting down. I knew I was in a spin out. But I didn't. And I said, it's kind of akin to having a friend who's an alcoholic who tells you, well, I'm really sorry I burned down your house, but you have to remember I drank two fifths of bourbon before I did that, before I came over. And I'm an alcoholic, and you did nothing to stop me from burning your house down. It's not enough to keep saying, well, I was suicidal at the time, that's why I was such a shit. That it doesn't always work. And it segues into the next part, which is how I look at it, which is, I'm going to use a quote from the TV show Justified, which is probably the greatest TV show which almost nobody's ever watched. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's just fantastic writing, fantastic story, fantastic characters. And the main character is a U.S. Marshal originally from Harlan County, Kentucky, named Raylan Givens, who is back in Kentucky working with issues in Harlan County to deal with nefarious ne'er-do-wells, shall we say. Started to sound a little bit like Boyd Crowder there. But there's one episode where he's taking some guy back to, lockup. And the guy is pissing and moaning on about something. And the quote that Raylan gives him is like, if you meet an asshole in the morning, you've met an asshole. If you meet assholes all day, you're the asshole. Which is to say, if all you run into are people who you think are assholes, it's probably you. It's not them. That's not always true. But in some instances, yeah, it is. And in my instance here, I kept seeing a lot of people who weren't supporting me. The reality is I was really not supporting myself. And I was doing everything I could to make it impossible for those who were trying to support me to do so. It's really kind of easy to push blame onto other people, especially when, like I said, I have mental illness. I have depression. I had suicidal ideation. And I knew it. I knew that this existed. And I had hit the point where I didn't care anymore. I was in a flame out, and I was prepared to take it all the way to the end. The problem with flame outs are you tend to leave a lot of destruction in your wake. And like it or not, that's what I did. One of the things I picked up in one of my groups is that it's not enough to just say I did bad things, but you have to accept responsibility for those things. You have to accept the fact that by letting your untreated illness get out of hand, you basically burned a hell of a lot of bridges on your way to wherever the hell it was you were going. In my case, I was, as they said in Face Off, I was going for the big ride, baby. That was my ultimate goal. And I knew I wasn't going to certify. Deep down inside, I knew it. I knew I wasn't going to certify. I knew I was never going to get that 27.5. But I couldn't admit that. I couldn't admit it because my mental health issues were preventing me from being as good as I could be, and also preventing me from taking responsibility for those things. And so in the end, it just manifested as, well, nobody's there to support me. And as I was told, that really hurt. Every time I would say that, every time I'd say I'm out there doing laps on my own, I don't feel like I'm getting any support, it hurt. It hurt coaching. It hurt players. Mostly it hurt coaching. That was, Ida told me she really wanted to get me to where I could play in our March rookie bout, but I just wouldn't cooperate. And I would be snippy and snappy whenever I would try to get some suggestion as to how to calm the hell down and deal with this. And at some point she just said, I can't do it anymore. I can't take it. And I can't blame her for that. And I told her, so, you can only help a person who wants help. You can't help a person who doesn't. And for a long time there, I didn't want help. I was just interested in hitting rock bottom, from which there was no lower level. And it kind of segues now into another expression that has been used in Derby before. And I'm probably going to screw this quote up, but I'm going to get the gist of it here, so hang with me. But someone had once written that people come to Derby in various stages of transition. And for some of those people, they will literally destroy their bodies in order to save their souls. And somehow that seems right. And you do hear stories about how, I had abuse problems, I had substance problems, I had health problems, I had mental issues. And they came into Derby and they focused on it, and it got them better, and it got them moving in a direction that they wanted to move in. And it's true. I mean, Derby can be addictive. It can be one of those things where you spend all your time with it, and you don't want to go anywhere else. And you don't want to do anything else. But at the same time, it can be healthy. It can be a healthy outlet. I was in a state of transition when I came to Derby. I was transitioning from life to death. And it eventually became really obvious to my league that that was what was going on. I have people on the executive board of directors of my league who are friends. But at some point, you have to take your friend's cap off, and you have to put your board of directors cap on, and you have to say, we have a person in our league who is a problem, and we got to do something about this. And that something was a write-up and a 30-day suspension. And well, wait a minute, they went an extra step. It wasn't just enough that they gave me the suspension. They could have just said, okay, you're suspended, go on home. We'll see you in 30 days. And that did not happen. Yeah, I got the first part. But they knew I stood a real good chance of harming myself. And we know what we mean by harming myself. And so they worked to get me checked in to a hospital so I could get help. They didn't have to do that, but they did. And as I told Nita last night, looking back on this in retrospect, Um, I don't know that there was any scenario that evening that would have had me walking out without going to the hospital. I don't know what the ultimate plan was, but I think deep down inside, there was no way in hell I was walking home, driving home, and staying there. You know, at some point, there was going to be an intervention. I mean, as I told Nina last night, I said, let's face it, there's quite a few women on the team that even if I'm not in skates and they are, they still could kick my ass. You know, they could put some serious hurt on me to get me to do something. So you know, let's not kid ourselves. Yeah, Derby women, badass, and there are a few in my league, quite a few actually. Never take that away from them. So I was transitioning from life to death, and I had a destroyed mind, and my league stepped in, and they basically saved my life. So for me to actually say they didn't have my back, that I had no support from my league, and to say over the last couple of weeks that, well, I just don't really know what's going to happen. I don't hear anything. Nobody's talking to me. I don't feel they care. That's disingenuous. It's wrong. It was me lashing out due to the fact that I had not come to grips with the idea that everything that had befell me through the early months and that led up to my suspension were all my fault. When I say I wasted the last 5 months or so, in reality, it wasn't the league that was responsible for me wasting that time. It was me. That's all on me. That's my fault. And that's because rather than get help for my issues, I decided, no, I'm just going to see assholes all day. Because it was easier that way. So what I'm saying here is this is my mea culpa. And if you don't know what mea culpa means, it's Latin for through my fault. Everything, it's a way of saying everything that transpired beforehand, well, that's nobody's fault but mine. So this is my apology to all the members of the Harrisburg Area Roller Derby, all the players, all the refs, all the non-skating officials who I have had contact with for some time and who have had to deal with my various meltdowns and my persnickety attitude and my all-around, probably at times, shittiness. I'm sorry. It was my responsibility to do something about my attitude and my illness, and I didn't. And it wasn't until you stepped in and literally saved me that things began to change. And even then, it wasn't until you welcomed me back that I finally realized, I finally came to grips with the fact that everything that happened before was not your fault. It was mine. And I am deeply sorry for any pain and any misery that I caused along the line. And it's not going to happen again. If it does, show me the door. Seriously. Because I don't want to be that person. I don't believe I am that person. And I don't want to be that person ever again. You know, that's one of the advantages. I spent time in the hospital. I learned coping skills. I learned other things from various groups I was in. I now have medication, which I'm taking daily. I also have anti-anxiety meds, which I am going to keep in my gear bag, which are take as needed. So if I'm coming to practice and I have a feeling that practice may be ultra stressful that night, an hour or so before I go, I'll pop a med. I'll pop an anti-anxiety med and calm it down. Learn to get focused. Learn to concentrate on the job ahead. And mostly I'm going to keep my mouth shut. Or at least when I do talk about the league, I'll talk about it in the true positive terms that it deserves. Because frankly, the league has done a lot for me. I've done a lot for the league, but the league in turn has done a lot for me. They have tried to help me on the track. They got help for me off the track. The fact that I'm actually making this video today, a little over a month after my suspension and intervention, the fact that I'm making it today is proof that they had my back, that they were there to support me. I mean, they saved my life. I didn't do it. They did. How much more support can I ask for? Seriously, you can't ask for more than that. So I owe them a debt of gratitude for being here. And I do. I don't get as weepy as I used to. If it wasn't for the antidepressants, I'd probably be crying all over my plate, all over myself right now. But yeah, I'm a much better person these days, and I want to continue being that sort of person. Because as I told Roxy and I told Ida yesterday, my real goal is I want to be a productive member of the team, not just show up for practice, do things, go home. Show up for league events outside and then go home. I want to be a real, true, productive member. And in order to do that, I've got to work at it. And that means, well, we know what that means. I was actually out this morning and I was getting ready to skate over in the Hack parking lot and it started raining. And then I get back here after I grab some breakfast and the sun is shining. It's going to be a schizophrenic day. It's quite likely I picked the one time throughout the day that it rained. But I'm going to get out and do some skating because I need to get my endurance back up. In talking with Roxy, she says that we're going to work on putting a plan together for me to get certified ASAP. She was talking about like a 30-day plan, which is I'm down with. That's what I want to do. I just said she's eager to get back to working with me. So I'm looking forward to that. Because ultimately that is my goal. It always has been, but now I have a little bit more focus and a lot more drive. Or is it the other way around? I don't know. But I do want to do it. And I was telling Nita last night, I even have a goal of July 22nd. As you know from last week, if you were watching this video, you know that my team played last Sunday and they won. They pulled out a tough victory. And it hurt me not to be there. I understand why I wasn't there, but it hurt. And again, I only have myself to blame for that. If I hadn't put the league in a position of having to suspend me, I could have participated. And if I had had my act together long before then, I could have actually played. I would have been part of a winning team. I am actually part of a winning team because I am coming back. And we're keeping a very positive attitude that that's going to be the first of several wins we're going to have this year. And I think it will be. I think the first real bout we had, we only lost by like a few points. I mean, it was that close. And without a miscue or two here or there, we could have actually won that bout as well. So, you know, we won last Sunday. We almost won the month before that. Next month, we're going to be playing hard. We have another match coming up in 3 weeks. And people are going to be training hard for that. It's going to be tough. But it can be done. And then July 22nd, we play a league that was actually the first league I saw hard play. Little Steel out in Youngstown, Ohio. And I went on a trip where we actually stayed overnight. And then came back the next day. And it was quite an eye-opener for your first big exposure to Derby. That was the first time I ever filmed about, watched about, had pretty much no idea what was going on. But that was it. That was who I cut my teeth with. So they're coming back here on July 22nd, and July 22nd is going to be our last home bout until November. So after that month, you know, we're going to be on the road for, I want to say, 4 bouts. And then we'll come back in November and end out the season. So my goal with like just slightly under 2 months to go would be to certify and get bout ready and play against the first league I saw hard play against. That would be kind of an ironic thing to have happen. And I have a better attitude about whether or not I could actually reach it. I mean, you know, I told Roxy, if I got to go out and skate, you know, sprints back and forth in the Hack parking lot for 20, 30 minutes at a time, then I need to go out there and do that so I can build up my endurance, I can build up my speed. And I'm willing to do it. It's not going to be easy. But then everything we do is hard. So that's kind of my goal. I'll have, when I go back, we're going to start working on a plan to get me official. You know, it's going to be Bullwinkle time. You know, this thing for sure. And if it isn't, that's on me. If I completely blow this one, it's on me. It's not the league's fault. The league has given me a second chance in a lot of different ways. And I have to take advantage of it. If I don't take advantage of it, if I burn this one to the ground, you know, any expectation of a third chance, you know, forget it. Even I admit there's not going to be a third chance. This is it. You know, this is on me. This is what I have to do. But this time I'll be doing it with help. I know that help will be there. I'll be able to get this accomplished. It won't just be me doing it this time. It'll be me with the help of my league behind me. It's something that's always been there. It's just before now, before a lot of self-realization I couldn't ever see before. And for that, again, I'm sorry. So Tuesday is going to be completely new. It's going to be a completely different thing going on, and it's going to be a new day especially for me. So that's what I had to say. That's what I wanted to say. And I hope people realize that I'm going to do my best to back up my words with action. And if I don't do my best, then I'm hoping someone is there behind me going, you can do better. Let's see it. Show it to me. And then I'll do what I can to make that come true. Again, it's not going to be easy. But as my teammate Red Rumdahl says, if Derby was easy, everyone would do it. And we certainly don't see everyone coming out and doing it, because it ain't easy. It ain't easy, kids. Okay, that's all I've got to say. So I hope you all have a good Saturday. And next week, I'll be here. Bye.